Welcome back to the deep dive. Most monitors, they kind of aim for performance or they aim for size.
Right. It's usually one or the other.
Exactly. But today we're talking about a display that, well, it attempts to swallow both concepts whole. We're taking a deep dive into one of the most physically massive and technologically advanced screens Acer has ever released under its Predator banner, the X49X.
It's quite the statement piece.
Okay, let's unpack this right away. Our sources, they confirm this isn't just another high refresh rate display. I mean, sure.
It has the specs.
It has the specs. 240 hertz speed, that quantum dot OLED technology. It definitely checks the boxes for, elite gaming. But our mission here, for you listening, is to figure out if this screen really transcends that label of gaming monitor. Is it truly a comprehensive, all-in-one desktop solution for the enthusiast who needs to dominate spreadsheets maybe during the day?
And then alien hordes by night.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is the critical question, because the specs alone, they're monumental. We're talking a 49-inch screen, DQHD resolution, that's dual quad high definition, that 240 hertz refresh rate we mentioned, and the flagship QD-OLED panel. This is a deliberate design choice. It's engineered for users who just refuse to compromise on either scale or quality.
And you just cannot discuss scale without talking about the raw physical presence of the X49X. I mean, this is where the story really begins. You simply cannot ignore this monitor when it's sitting on your desk.
No, you can't. It absolutely demands real estate. It needs a big desk. We are looking at a 32.9 aspect ratio, which is, well, the definition of ultra-wide. To help you visualize the utility here, it's basically delivering the viewing area of two separate 27-inch QHD panels.
Right, two 1440p screens.
Exactly, perfectly fused together, no gap. That single uninterrupted canvas, it fundamentally changes how you view things, how you work, how you play.
And that fusion means zero center bezel, that dividing line between screens, that annoying break in the middle. Gone.
It's crucial for immersion, yeah.
And speaking of immersion, let's talk about the curve.
Okay, so Acer chose an 1800R curvature here. And our analysis, it suggests this is a pretty smart, balanced choice. It's tight enough to sort of wrap the image around your field of view, pulling you into the periphery, especially in games. Yet it's shallow enough that it doesn't really cause weird distortion or feel overwhelming when you're just, dealing with windows or spreadsheets.
I appreciate that balance. You get that peripheral immersion benefit without feeling like you're stuck inside a fishbowl.
Right.
But let's not forget the look of it. This thing screams Predator, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It absolutely has the signature angular kind of futuristic design touches. You got the aggressive stand, the sharp lines. It doesn't try to blend in at all. It announces itself as a performance piece, which is important for their branding, sure, but it also signals that its primary focus, well, it does remain on that high-end gaming market.
Okay, spectacle established, size, curve, looks. Let's move from the physical shell to the actual substance of the image. This is where the monitor really enters the conversation about truly high-fidelity visuals, the QD-OLED.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is understanding the technical advantages that QD-OLED brings, especially over, say, traditional LCDs or even standard OLED, particularly on a big screen like this. The OLED foundation, that gives you the perfect black levels, right? Because the pixels just turn completely off.
Infinite contrast, basically.
Essentially infinite contrast, yeah. That's the baseline.
That's the foundation. But we hear QD-OLED, that quantum dot layer. What's it doing specifically that maybe a standard wall panel can't?
So it fundamentally addresses some weaknesses of previous OLED types and even high-end competitors like mini OLED. The quantum dots, they take the blue light from the OLED source and convert it into these highly saturated primary colors, red and green. This results in much greater color volume, so colors stay really vibrant even when things get bright.
Okay.
And maybe more importantly for enthusiasts, this whole setup avoids a big visual flaw you can get with mini LEDs blooming or haloing, that glow around bright objects.
Right, that fuzzy halo effect.
Exactly. Since every single pixel is its own light source here, you get perfect uniformity across the entire 49 inches. No zones, no halos.
That's the so what there. You don't get that glow around like a spaceship against a black star field or headlights at night. Keeps everything sharp. The sources described it really vividly, thinking about neon-lit cyberpunk cities.
Perfect example.
Where the sharp edges of the light are perfectly kept against that inky black sky.
Precisely. And this directly leads to phenomenal HDR performance. Now, we're not talking about maybe the absolute peak eye-searing brightness you might find on some pro-grade monitors.
Okay.
But the sheer contrast ratio ensures that highlights could be an explosion, could be the sun reflecting off water they just pop with staggering intensity. And crucially, without washing out any of the detail in the surrounding darker areas, it delivers real visual substance, you know? It moves beyond just being fast for gaming.
All right, speaking of steed, that's the perfect transition. Stunning visuals were only half the story for a premium Predator monitor.
I have the speed.
Absolutely. So now we switch focus entirely to raw capability. The X49X has to deliver lightning-fast performance to justify that Predator badge and, frankly, that price tag.
It absolutely must, and it does. We're talking about the combination of that blisteringly fast 240 hertz refresh rate.
Which is very fast.
Very fast, yeah. And the near-zero pixel response times that are just inherent to OLED technology.
Yeah.
Pixels switch almost instantly. The synergy just keeps motion blur down to an absolute, basically unnoticeable minimum. For serious, fast-paced, competitive shooters, think FPS games, that clarity is, well, it's transformative. The sources confirm the input lag feels negligible, too. Meets the demands of high-level gamers.
Okay, I have to challenge this slightly, though. You mentioned the resolution is DQHD, 5120 by 1440 pixels.
Yep, that's a lot of pixels.
That's a huge number of pixels to push. Is 240 hertz at that massive resolution even achievable in modern, graphically demanding AAA titles, like Cyberpunk or Alan Wake 2? Or is that 240 hertz more of an aspirational number, maybe for future graphics cards?
That's a very fair and necessary question for anyone seriously considering this. The 240 hertz is absolutely achievable, but it's highly situational. You're right. For less demanding esports titles, things like Valorant, CS2, Rocket League, yeah, you can push those kinds of frame rates, especially with a top-end GPU. And that zero motion blur is vital there.
Right, for competitive edge.
Exactly. However, for a really graphically intense AAA game running at max settings, no. No consumer GPU on the market today is going to sustain 240 frames per second at 120 by 1440, not even close sometimes.
So it's partly future-proofing then. And it's also a massive boon for those competitive titles where pure speed matters more than, say, retracing effects.
Precisely. And look, regardless of the absolute frame rate you're getting, to manage the layering output from your GPU, the monitor includes robust adaptive sync. Specifically, it's got FreeSync Premium Pro support. That ensures frame tearing is eliminated, gameplay stays incredibly smooth, even when the frame rate dips and climbs, which it will in demanding games.
Okay, good. So variable refresh rate is covered.
Yeah.
So we've established it's monumental, it's visually superb, and it's ridiculously fast, at least for the right kind of content or with the right settings. But what truly elevates the X49X, getting back to our mission, is its practical versatility. This is where Acer seems to make good on that dual-use promise, moving it beyond just the gaming den.
Yeah, the utility features are what really sell it as a potential workstation replacement. I think the inclusion of an integrated KVM switch is, frankly, a masterstroke for anyone running a dual setup.
Okay, for listeners who might not have used a KVM keyboard, video, mouse switch before, can you describe the workflow benefit? Like, beyond just saving hassle, why does this matter day to day?
Okay, think about the common frustration. You've got your powerful gaming desktop, right? And then maybe a sleek work laptop for remote work or creative stuff.
Yep, pretty standard setup for many.
Traditionally, you'd have to unplug your keyboard, unplug your mouse, plug them into the other device, maybe fiddle with the monitor input button. It's clinky.
It is. It gets old fast.
The KVM switch lets you plug your keyboard and mouse into the monitor itself. Then, with just a simple button press, or sometimes a keyboard shortcut, you instantly switch control, video input, everything between the two connected systems, like your PC and your laptop. It's the difference between, like, a minute of fumbling with cables and a 2-second transition.
That seamlessness is huge. Minimizes that mental context switch, reduces cable mess. Which actually brings us nicely to the second key productivity feature, power delivery.
Right. The connectivity here is really good, featuring a USB-C port that supports 90 watts of power delivery.
90 watts? That's significant.
It's pretty beefy, yeah. Essential, I'd say, for modern professionals using higher-end productivity laptops like MacBook Pros or powerful Windows Ultrabooks.
So that means you can drive this massive DQHD display, use the monitor's built-in USB hub for peripherals, and simultaneously fast charge your laptop, all through that one single USB-C cable.
Correct. One cable does it all. It basically transforms the display into the central docking station for a home office. Imagine using that huge, uninterrupted canvas for creative work. Maybe you're deep in a video editing timeline or managing a complex spreadsheet.
Multiple windows side by side.
Exactly. Multiple full-size application windows open side by side with absolutely no bezel interruption in the middle. That capability, combined with the one cable charging and the easy KVM switching, it firmly establishes the X49X as a legitimate high-end productivity tool. It's not just a gaming monitor anymore.
Okay. Now, in the true spirit of a deep dive, we absolutely have to acknowledge that a monitor this ambitious, especially at this kind of scale, isn't going to be without its limitations, its caveats. Need to keep it balanced.
Absolutely. Fair point. The first one is just pure physics, which we kind of touched on earlier. At 49 inches, this display is heavy. It is deep. It requires a substantial, sturdy desk setup.
Yeah, you're not putting this on a flimsy IKEA table.
Probably not advisable, no. And it's not a monitor you can easily just, pick up and move or adjust constantly, though the included stand is quite robust.
And we need to circle back to the ultra-wide format support itself. While that 32.9 ratio is incredible for immersion when it's supported properly, the reality is a lot of games, especially older ones or even some newer ones, still don't natively support it perfectly.
That is the key trade-off you accept with any ultra-wide, particularly a super ultra-wide like this. While many modern titles do adapt well or have patches or community mods, you will definitely run into games, particularly ones with hard-coded cutscenes or very specific UI elements.
Yeah, the HUD elements get weird sometimes.
Right. They might force black bars on the sides, which kind of negates the point of the width. Or sometimes, even worse, they stretch the image painfully, which just ruins the visual quality.
Okay, good point. Then there are the technical trade-offs inherent to OLED itself. You mentioned the contrast is phenomenal, but how does the overall brightness stack up against, say, a high-end mini-LED competitor, especially if you're in a brightly lit room?
Yeah, it's a fair comparison. While that contrast ratio makes highlights pop really dramatically, the overall sustained brightness levels for the entire screen showing white,
Full screen brightness, yeah.
it isn't going to rival the best, most powerful mini LED panels out there. Those are specifically engineered for maximum desktop lumen output. So this means while the X49X absolutely excels in a dim or controlled lighting environment, perfect for movies and atmospheric games, if your office is just drenched in midday sun.
Right. Big window behind you, maybe.
It might struggle slightly compared to an aggressively bright mini LED. The image might look a little less punchy in those extreme conditions.
Okay. And let's address the elephant that still kind of hangs over any premium OLED discussion. The theoretical concern of burn-in.
It does remain a theoretical concern, yes, particularly for a monitor you might use for productivity, where you have static elements like taskbars, application toolbars, desktop icons visible for hours on end.
Yeah, same image elements staying present.
Exactly. However, it's crucial to note Acer has included pretty sophisticated preventative measures, which is, frankly, non-negotiable for a product aiming at this mixed-use market.
Like pixel shifting, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Pixel shifting, which subtly moves the image around by a few pixels periodically.
Yeah.
Static logo dimming, which reduces the brightness of persistent logos. And other panel care features, they all proactively work to minimize the risk of permanent image retention. So while, the anxiety around burn-in has lessened significantly with modern OLED panels and these features, having them included is a central peace of mind, especially if you, the listener, plan to use this panel for 8 hours of work before switching over to gaming.
Right. Crucial for that dual use case. Okay, so as we bring all these findings together, synthesize everything, what does the Predator X49X really represent in the current monitor market?
Well, it's clear the X49X is an absolute powerhouse. It successfully merges, I think, that top-tier gaming performance with genuine high-end desktop utility. It's an outstanding choice if you're chasing that ultimate bezel-free immersive experience, thanks mainly to that massive curved QD-OLED panel and the ultra-responsive performance.
And importantly, thanks to those clever utility features, especially that integrated KVM switch, and the robust 90W USDC power delivery, it really does fulfill that dual-purpose mission we set out to explore. It feels equally suited to running a seamless, cable-reduced high-end home office setup, as it is to being the absolute centerpiece of a dedicated, no-compromise gaming den. It really defines versatility in a high-end display.
But ultimately, let's be clear, this monitor is not a casual purchase. It's not for everyone. The price point is significant. The sheer physical size demands consideration, and you have to commit to that ultra-wide format and its quirks.
Sure.
But for that, maybe small percentage of users who demand the absolute best of both worlds, that uninterrupted, high-fidelity productivity workflow alongside top-tier entertainment capability, it is an absolute showpiece, and one that performs without real disappointment.
Well put. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Acer's latest behemoth display.
My pleasure. And here is the final provocative thought we want to leave you with today. Given the substantial investment required for a display of this caliber, how much is the sort of intangible value, the value of reducing cable clutter, enabling that seamless one-cable workplace switching via the KVM and 90W power delivery? How much is that truly worth to your personalized desktop environment? Is that convenience premium worth it compared to, say, just buying two separate really good screens?
That's a great question to ponder.
Something for you to mull over as you think about optimizing your own space.
Absolutely. Food for thought. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.